Operation Winter '94 was a joint military offensive of the Croatian Army and the Croatian Defense Council fought in southwestern Bosnia and Herzegovina between the 29th of November and the 24th of December 1994. The operation formed part of the Croatian War of Independence and the Bosnian War fought between Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia and two unrecognized para-states proclaimed by Croatian Serbs and Bosnian Serbs. Both para-states were supported by the Yugoslav People's Army in Serbia. The JNA pulled out in 1992, but transferred much of its equipment to the Bosnian Serb and Croatian Serb forces as it withdrew. Operation Winter '94 was the first in a series of successful advances made by the HV and the HVO in or near the Livanjsko field, an elongated flat-bottomed valley surrounded by hills. The region was formerly controlled by the HVO, but the HV contributed substantial force, including commanding officers. The attacks were primarily designed to draw the Army of Republika Srpska away from the besieged city of Bivak. The secondary objective was threatening the single direct supply route between Drvar in the Bosnian Serb Republika Srpska and Nin, the capital of the Croatian Serb Republic of Serbian Krajina. Operation Winter '94 pushed back the front line of the VRS by about 20 kilometers, capturing much of the Livanjsko field. The attack failed to achieve its primary objective, but it brought the Croatian forces within striking distance of the Drvar-Nin road. Operation Winter '94 was followed by Operation Leap 1 on the 7th of April 1995, which improved HV positions on Mount Dinara on the southern rim of the field, dominating the area around the RSK capital. The Croatian forces renewed their advance with Operation Leap 2 between 4 and the 10th of June, allowing them to directly threaten Bosansko Grahovo on the Drvar-Nin road, and to secure the remainder of the valley. The improved Croatian dispositions around Livanjsko field provided a springboard for further offensive action on this front during Operation Summer '95. Background: following the 1990 electoral defeat of the government of the Socialist Republic of Croatia, ethnic tensions grew. The Yugoslav People's Army confiscated Croatia's territorial defense weapons to minimize resistance. On the 17th of August, the tensions escalated into an open revolt by Croatian Serbs, centered on the predominantly Serb-populated areas of the Dalmatian hinterland around Nin, parts of the Lika, Kordun, Banovina and eastern Croatia. This was followed by two unsuccessful attempts by Serbia, supported by Montenegro and Serbia's provinces of Vojvodina and Kosovo, to obtain the Yugoslav presidency's approval of a JNA operation to disarm Croatian security forces in January 1991. After a bloodless skirmish between Serb insurgents and Croatian Special Police in March, the JNA, supported by Serbia and its allies, asked the federal presidency to declare a state of emergency and grant the JNA wartime powers. The request was denied on the 15th of March, and the JNA came under control of Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic. Milosevic, preferring a campaign to expand Serbia rather than preservation of Yugoslavia, publicly threatened to replace the JNA with Serbian army and declared that he no longer recognized the authority of the federal presidency. By the end of March, the conflict had escalated into the Croatian War of Independence. The JNA stepped in, increasingly supporting the Croatian Serb insurgents and preventing Croatian police from intervening. In early April, the leaders of the Croatian Serb revolt declared their intention to integrate the area under the control with Serbia. The government of Croatia viewed this declaration as an attempt to secede. In May, the Croatian government responded by forming the Croatian National Guard, but its development was hampered by a United Nations arms embargo introduced in September. On the 8th of October, Croatia declared independence from Yugoslavia, and a month later the ZNG was renamed the Croatian Army. Late 1991 saw the fiercest fighting of the Croatian War of Independence, culminating in the Siege of Dubrovnik and the Battle of Vukovar. A campaign of ethnic cleansing then began in the RSK, and most non-Serbs were expelled. In January 1992, an agreement to implement the peace plan negotiated by UN Special Envoy Cyrus Vance was signed by Croatia, the JNA and the UN. As a result, the United Nations Protection Force deployed to maintain the ceasefire, and the JNA was scheduled to retreat to Bosnia and Herzegovina, where further conflict was anticipated. Despite the peace arrangement requiring an immediate withdrawal of JNA personnel and equipment from Croatia, it remained on Croatian territory for 7 to 8 months. When its troops eventually withdrew, the JNA left its equipment to the Army of the Republic of Srb Krajina. The January ceasefire also allowed the JNA to maintain its positions in East and West Slavonia that were on the brink of military collapse following a Croatian counteroffensive, which reclaimed 60% of the JNA-held territory in West Slavonia by the time the ceasefire went into effect. However, Serbia continued to support the RSK. The HV restored small areas around Dubrovnik to Croatian control, and during Operation Maslenica it recaptured some areas of Lika and northern Dalmatia. Croatian population centers continued to be intermittently targeted by artillery, missiles and air raids throughout the war. On the 9th of January 1992, a Bosnian Serb state was declared, ahead of the 29th of February the 1st of March referendum on the independence of Bosnia and Herzegovina, later cited as a pretext for the Bosnian War. The Bosnian Serb state was later renamed Republika Srpska. As the JNA withdrew from Croatia, it started to transform into a Bosnian Serb army, handing over its weapons, equipment and 55,000 troops. The process was completed in May, when the Bosnian Serb army became the Army of Republika Srpska. It was faced by the Croatian Defense Council, established in April, and the Bosnia and Herzegovina renamed the Army of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina in May. Formal establishment of these forces was preceded by the first armed clashes in the country as the Bosnian Serbs set up barricades in Sarajevo and elsewhere on the 1st of March, and the situation rapidly escalated. Bosnian Serb artillery began shelling Bosanski Brod by the end of March, and Sarajevo was first shelled on the 4th of April. By the end of 1992, the VRS held 70% of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Following a large-scale campaign of conquest and ethnic cleansing backed by military and financial support from the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, the Bosnian War gradually evolved into a three-sided conflict. The initial ARBA-HVO alliance soon deteriorated as the forces became rivals for control of parts of the country. Ethnic tensions escalated from apparently insignificant harassment in July to an open Croat-Bosniak war by October 1992. The Bosnian Croat authorities, organized in the Herzegovina territory, were intent on attaching the region to Croatia. This was incompatible with Bosniak aspirations for a unitary state. Prelude. In November 1994, the siege of Bivak entered a critical stage as the VRS and the ARSK came close to capturing the town from the Bosniak-dominated Arba. Bivak was seen as a strategic area by the international community. It was thought that its capture by Serb forces would intensify the war, widening the division between the United States on one side and France and the United Kingdom on the other, and feared that bivouac would become the worst humanitarian disaster of the war. Furthermore, denying bivouac to the Serbs was strategically important to Croatia. Brigadier General Kresimir Kozic expected the VRS and the ARSK would threaten Karlovac and Sisak once they captured bivouac, while Chief of Croatia's General Staff General Janko Bobetko believed the fall of bivouac would represent an end to Croatia's war effort. Following a U.S. military strategy endorsed by President Bill Clinton in February 1993, the Washington Agreement was signed in March 1994. This ended the Croat-Bosniak War, abolished Herzeg Bosnia, established the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and forged the ABA-HVO alliance against the VRS. In addition, a series of meetings between U.S. and Croatian officials were held in Zagreb and Washington, D.C. In November 1994, the United States unilaterally ended the arms embargo against Bosnia and Herzegovina, in effect allowing the HV to supply itself as arms shipments flowed through Croatia. In a meeting held on the 29th of November 1994, Croatian representatives proposed to attack Serb-held territory from Livna in Bosnia and Herzegovina to draw off part of the force besieging bivouac, and prevent its capture by the Serbs. U.S. officials made no response to the proposal. Operation Winter 94 was ordered the same day. It was to be carried out by the HV and the HVO, the main military forces of the Bosnian Croats. Operation Winter 94 became feasible after the HVO captured Kupres in Operation Sinkar on 3 November 1994, securing the right flank of the planned advance northwest of Livna. The HVO and the ABA advanced towards Kupres in the first military effort coordinated between them since the Washington Agreement. Order of battle. The HV deployed up to 9,000 troops on rotation through the area during the Operation Winter 94, keeping approximately 3,000–4,000 troops on the ground at any time, and the HVO fielded an additional 2,000–3,000. The defending force of the VRS 2nd Krajina Corps consisted of about 3,500 soldiers, spread along the 55-kilometer front line. The Bosnian Serb defenders were commanded by Colonel Radovoj Utomanik. The attacking force was nominally controlled by the HVO, with Major General Tihomir Blaskic in overall command of the attack. The HV General Staff appointed Major General Ante Gotovina as commander of the Split Corps and commanding officer of the HV units. The Croatian forces were organized into operational groups. OG-SINJ was located on the left flank, OG-Livna in the center and OG-Kupres on the right flank of the attack in Bosnia and Herzegovina. OG-Kupres mainly consisted of HVO units, while the bulk of the OG-SINJ and OG-Livna was made up of HV troops. Timeline and results. Operation Winter 94 began on the 29th of November 1994 in heavy snow and temperatures of -20 degrees Celsius. 130 soldiers from the HV 126th Home Guard Regiment commanded by Brigadier Ante Kotromanovic infiltrated behind VRS positions on the left flank of the front line around Donji Rujani, followed by a brief stabilization of the newly established line of contact. The advance was resumed on the 6th of December as the HV 4th Guards Brigade and the 126th Home Guard Regiment gradually pushing back the VRS 9th Light Infantry Brigade towards Bosansko Grahovo. In more than a week of gradual advance, the force penetrated the VRS defenses by 10 to 12 kilometers in the general general direction of Bosansko-Grahovo. The HVO units on the right flank of the attack made little progress towards Glamic, and were faced with a determined VRS defense. By the 11th of December, the VRS 9th Light Infantry Brigade had sustained losses sufficient to demoralize the unit, further complicating the battlefield situation for the VRS as the civilian population began to leave Glamic. The civilian evacuation was nearly complete by the 16th of December. On that day, valuables were removed from churches and monasteries in the VRS held territory near the front line, although there was no immediate threat to them. On the 23rd of December, the Croatian forces reached Sjarani Lug at the northwest rim of the Livanjsko field, forcing the VRS 9th Light Infantry Brigade to withdraw to more defensible positions. On the 24th of December, the VRS withdrawal was complete and the operation ended. In response to the reversals they had suffered, the VRS brought 2 brigades and 2 battalions from the 1st Krajina Corps, the Herzegovina Corps and the East Bosnian Corps to secure its defences in the Glamic and Bosansko-Grahovo areas and encourage civilians to return. After nearly a month of fighting, the Croatian forces had advanced by about 20 kilometers and had captured approximately 200 square kilometers of territory northwest of Livna. The VRS had been pushed back to a line approximately 19 kilometers southeast of Bosansko-Grahovo. The HV and the HVO sustained losses of 29 killed, 19 seriously wounded and 39 slightly injured troops. 3 soldiers were captured by the VRS, but they were later released in a prisoner of war exchange. In a report following Operation Winter 94, the VRS 2nd Krajina Corps reported serious manpower shortages and 20% casualties. After the operation, ARSK deployed to Glamic and Bosansko-Grahovo area to assist the VRS in continued skirmishes against the Croatian forces in the area. Croatian troops retained most of the ground, representing a salient to the northwest of Livna, gained during the winter offensive. The lull in fighting continued until mid-March 1995. Follow-up operations. Operation Leap 1 Operation Leap 1 was designed to widen the salient and allow the Croatian forces to advance towards Bosansko-Grahovo. By spring 1995, relatively small shifts of the line of control west of the Livanjsko field enabled the VRS and the ARSK to threaten the HV positions on Dinara and Staratina mountains. Gotovina was concerned that the salient established by the HV and the HVO in Operation Winter 94 was too small and was vulnerable to counterattacks by the VRS and the ARSK. To create the necessary preconditions for the upcoming push, elements of the HV 4th Guards Brigade and the 126th Home Guard Regiment advanced approximately 4 kilometers over Dinara. The 4th Guards Brigade captured the strategic 1,831-meter Prezidla and 1,777-meter Yankovo RDO peaks on 14 to 18 March. The 126th Home Guards Regiment protected its flank, advancing through areas around the Croatia-Bosnia and Herzegovina border that were previously controlled by the ARSK. Gotovina defined several objectives for Operation Leap 1, the capture of more favorable positions, allowing the approach to ARSK-held positions around Kijevo, where a strategic mountain pass is located, and Cetin west of Dinara, where ARSK artillery positions were located, securing the left flank of the force on Dinara, preventing ARSK attacks from that direction, and regaining positions lost during the winter of 1994-1995. The operation was scheduled to allow AHV advance in 2 steps of 4 kilometers each, over a period of 1 to 2 days. Operation Leap 1 took place on the 7th of April 1995. The HV 7th Guards Brigade relieved the 4th Guards Brigade and advanced for about 5 kilometers, pushing the VRS defenses along a 15-kilometer wide front line and capturing approximately 75 square kilometers of territory. This one-day operation moved the front line, from which the VRS 9th Light Infantry Brigade had intermittently mounted attacks during the previous 3 months northwest, and put the HV within easy reach of Unista, one of the few passes over Dinara. A secondary objective of the operation was also achieved. The salient created during Operation Winter 94 was extended towards Bosansko Grahovo and stabilized. The 126th Home Guard Regiment protected the left flank of the 7th Guards Brigade axis of advance, engaging in several skirmishes. Operation Leap 2 Operation Leap 2, or Operation Jump 2, was a joint operation of the HV and the HVO aimed primarily at capturing the main mountain pass out of the Livanchsko field on the Livno-Bosansko Grahovo road, and the high ground overlooking Glamic, to give the Croatian forces good positions from which to advance further into VRS-held territory. It was thought that the attack might also force the VRS to withdraw some of its forces that had been attacking the Araj pocket since May. Gotovina planned a 2-stage, 2-pronged advance towards the main objectives and an auxiliary attack on ARSK-held territory southwest of the salient. In the first stage of the operation, the attacking forces were tasked with capturing the village of Crni Lug and the southern part of the pass, while the second stage was planned to capture the 1,872-meter Mount Sata and the Crvena Zemlya ridge to the north, blocking the Bosansko Grahovo Glamic road and making Glamic difficult to resupply. The Croatian forces fielded approximately 5,000 troops, spearheaded by the HV 4th Guards Brigade and supported by the 1st Croatian Guards Brigade, the 1st Battalion of the 1st Guards Brigade, the 3rd Battalion of the 126th Home Guard Regiment of the HV, the HVO 3rd Guards Brigade and the Bosnian Croat Special Police. The opposing forces comprised approximately 3,000 troops in 3 light infantry brigades of the VRS 2nd Krajina Corps and a 500-strong ARSK composite Vijaga battle group, assembled by the ARSK 7th North Dalmatian Corps. The Vijaga battle group was deployed with elements of the ARSK 1st Light Infantry Brigade in the Croatia-Bosnia and Herzegovina border zone on Dinara. The VRS formations consisted of the 3rd and the 9th Light Infantry Brigades in the Bosansko Grahovo area and the 5th Light Infantry Brigade in the Glamic zone. The reinforcements that had been sent to the area in the aftermath of Operation Winter 94 were broken up and used to reinforce the VRS brigades. Operation Leap 2 began on the 4th of June with the advance of the HV 4th Guards Brigade. HVO troops took Crni Lug and the mountain pass en route to Bosansko Grahovo, the operation's chief objective. Its left flank, in the border area, was protected by the 3rd Battalion of the 126th Home Guard Regiment and the Tactical Sniper Company attached to the HV Split Corps. The VRS counterattacked on 6 to 7 June, trying to roll back the 4th Guards Brigade. The VRS push failed, as did its efforts to contain the advance with close air support and M87 Norcon rockets. On the 6th of June, the second phase of Operation Leap 2 began. The 1st Battalion of the 1st Guards Brigade, supported by the HV 264th Reconnaissance Sabotage Company and elements of the HV 1st HGZ, advanced north from Livna, capturing the high ground near Glamoc and blocking the Bosansko-Grahovo-Glamoc road by the 10th of June. To pin down the VRS on the right flank of the attack, the HVO 2nd Guards Brigade attacked VRS positions on Gerlia Mountain southwest of Glamoc. Operations Leap 1 and 2 improved the positions of the Croatian forces east and west of the Livanjsko field, and brought Bosansko-Grahovo and Glamoc within striking distance. The advance secured the valley, threatened Glamoc, and brought the Bosansko-Grahovo-Glamoc road, the Seton Valley and the Vrlika field within Croatian artillery range. The Croatian forces sustained losses of 4 killed, 15 seriously wounded and 19 slightly injured during Operations Leap 1 and 2. Aftermath. Gotovina said that although Operations Winter 94, Leap 1 and Leap 2 were planned and executed as 3 distinct operations, they represent a unified military action. Operation Winter 94 ostensibly failed to achieve its primary objective of relieving pressure on the Bihać pocket by drawing off VRS and RSK forces. To contain the attack, however, that was due to a decision by Chief of VRS General Staff General Ratko Mladic, and not to mistakes in planning or execution. Faced with a choice between continuing with the attack on Bihać and blocking the advance from the Livanjsko field, the VRS chose not to move its forces, but Bihać was successfully defended by the 5th Corps of the Arbor. The secondary objective of Operation Winter 94 was achieved more easily. The Croatian forces approached the Nindrivar road and directly threatened the main supply route between the Republika Srpska and the RSK capital. Operations Leap 1 and 2, built on the achievements of Operation Winter 94, threatened Bosansko-Grahovo and created conditions to isolate Nin in Operation Summer 95, which was executed the following month. The advance was strategically significant. Mladic's decision not to react to Operation Winter 94 was a gamble which ultimately cost the Republika Srpska territory extending to Jajce, Markonichgrad and Drivar, and brought about the destruction of the RSK as the advances of the Croatian forces paved the way for Operation Storm.